Have you ever noticed that no matter how much you improve yourself, it never feels like enough? You finish one goal, then immediately create another. You read another book, watch another video, build another habit, and somehow, beneath all that progress, there's a quiet feeling you can't shake. A feeling that says, not yet. You're still not there. Most people think this means you're ambitious, but what if something else is happening? What if the constant need to improve isn't coming from confidence, but from fear? And if that's true, fear of what? From the outside, self-improvement looks healthy. You exercise, learn new skills, reflect on yourself, try to grow. None of those things are bad, but sometimes growth stops feeling like growth. It starts feeling like maintenance, like you're constantly repairing something, constantly upgrading something, constantly trying to become acceptable. You wake up thinking about what needs fixing. You go to sleep thinking about what you still haven't fixed. Even your achievements become evidence that you're behind. And the strange part is this: the more progress you make, the more flaws you seem to find. Your standards rise faster than your satisfaction. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. The brain quickly adjusts to improvements and turns them into the new normal. What once felt like success becomes baseline, and then the chase begins again. But there's another layer underneath, a deeper question. Why does stopping feel so uncomfortable? Why does rest sometimes feel like failure? The answer often has less to do with achievement, and more to do with identity. Many people unknowingly build their identity around self-improvement itself, not around living, not around experiencing, not around connecting, but around becoming. And when your identity is built around becoming, you can never fully arrive, because arrival would threaten the identity. This is why some people feel anxious during periods when nothing needs fixing. The silence becomes uncomfortable. The unfinished project is gone. The next goal isn't clear yet, and suddenly you're left alone with yourself. That moment reveals something important, because the real fear isn't stagnation. The real fear is what you might discover if you stop improving for a moment. We'll come back to that. Here's the reframe. You're not broken. Your brain didn't randomly create this pattern. It learned it. Every behavior serves a purpose, especially the ones that repeat. In behavioral psychology, actions that reduce emotional discomfort tend to become reinforced, even if they don't solve the deeper problem. Imagine a child who receives praise mainly when performing well. Good grades, achievements, being responsible, being impressive. Over time, the brain learns a simple equation. Achievement equals safety. Improvement equals acceptance. Falling behind equals risk. Years later, that lesson can continue running quietly in the background, not as a conscious belief, as an emotional reflex. Your self-improvement habit may actually be an adaptation, a strategy your mind developed to stay connected, valued, and secure. That's very different from being lazy, or weak, or flawed. But understanding the adaptation doesn't explain why it feels endless. For that, we need to look at what the brain is actually doing. Think of your brain as a prediction machine. Its primary job isn't happiness. Its primary job is safety. Neuroscience shows that the brain constantly scans for potential threats, physical threats, social threats, identity threats. And surprisingly, identity threats can feel powerful, because your sense of self acts like an internal map. The brain wants that map to stay stable. Here's the metaphor. Imagine carrying a backpack labeled, "Who I am." Inside are beliefs about yourself. I'm successful. I'm improving. I'm hardworking. I'm disciplined. Every time you achieve something, another item gets added to the backpack. But eventually something strange happens. You become afraid to put the backpack down, because without it, who are you? This creates what psychologists sometimes call contingent self-worth. Your value feels dependent on performance, not because you consciously chose that belief, because your brain learned to associate achievement with emotional security. A simple mental model is this: growth becomes unhealthy when it shifts from expression to protection. Expression says, I want to grow. Protection says, I need to grow or something is wrong with me. Those two motivations look identical from the outside, but internally, they're completely different, and that difference changes everything. So what do you do? Not how do you stop growing. How do you stop being controlled by the need to grow? The first step is noticing the emotional trigger. Before opening another self-help video or setting another goal, pause. Ask, what feeling am I trying to escape right now? Research on emotional awareness shows that naming emotions reduces their intensity. The brain shifts activity away from reactive emotional circuits and toward reflective processing. For example, instead of creating another productivity system after a bad day, you realize you're actually feeling inadequate. That changes the conversation. Second, separate behavior from identity. You failed at something. That is an event, not a definition. Cognitive psychology shows that people suffer when temporary experiences become permanent self-labels. Missing a workout doesn't mean you're undisciplined. Getting rejected doesn't mean you're unworthy. The brain naturally creates stories. Your job is to notice when the story becomes bigger than the fact. Third, practice small moments of non-improvement. This sounds simple, but it's psychologically powerful. Do something without optimizing it. Take a walk without tracking steps. Read without trying to extract lessons. Sit without turning the moment into a productivity tool. Why does this help? Because you're teaching the nervous system that existence and worth are not the same thing as performance. You're creating new evidence, new associations, new emotional predictions. Fourth, build identity around values instead of outcomes. Outcomes change. Values remain. You may not always succeed, but you can still be curious, honest, compassionate, present. Research in acceptance-based psychology suggests that value-driven behavior creates more stable motivation than outcome-driven behavior.